History of Galicia Jews is by no means limited to the Jewish history of Krakow and Lviv, once the main cities of Galicia. In the first decades of the 1900s, right before the start of the Second World War, there were about 900,000 Jews living in Galicia, in the small towns, in the villages, in the Tatra mountain region, in the southern Poland, including its capital, Zakopane. And here we are in the unofficial Polish mountain capital, Zakopane, exploring its Jewish history. We are inside the Stamary Hotel, one of the oldest and most posh hotels in Zakopane, with a very interesting history. During the first few months after the occupation of Poland, Nazis established in this hotel the Sipo-SD school. The purpose of the school was to train torturers and executioners. Male and female workers from the Jewish population were used as forced laborers for maintenance and cleaning work, care of the garden, and other manual tasks. The school was established in late 1939 alongside the Gestapo headquarters, which occupied another luxury hotel of Zakopane, known as the Palace Hotel. It was a modern building at that time with modernist architecture. The Jewish Council occupied a room in this building as well, right next door to the Gestapo headquarters. Gestapo had its prison in the basement, and on the ground floor an interrogation room. Because of the tortures used during interrogations, the palace was called the Podhale torture house. There were 6 prison cells and a dungeon. It's impossible to say how many prisoners, both Christians and the Jews, were kept there and how many of them were murdered. Today the building houses a museum. The Jews settled in Zakopane in the middle of the 19th century. According to the city census, in 1848, there were about 2,500 Polish Catholics in Zakopane, 4 Lutherans, and 15 Jews. And the local Jews were very secular and emancipated. Zakopane received the status of the resort around that time. The railroad was built to connect it with Krakow proper. All this led to the economic growth of the city and resulted in the drastic growth of the local Jewish community. As a result, in 1900 there were 198 Jews in Zakopane, and some 20 years later, 533. They were doctors, lawyers, businessmen involved in tourism, industrialists, owners of a sawmill and a paperboard factory. The oldest existing restaurant in today's Zakopane once belonged to the Jews. Still today you can taste the local specialties. The Jews owned some of the most expensive shops in Zakopane's main streets and estates in the best parts of the town. In 1930s, the Jewish community reached its peak with around 2,900 Jews living in the town. When Nazis started preparing for the war, the Zakopane Jews built 2 synagogues and founded the cemetery. Only the remains of the cemetery lasted till our days. The synagogues were razed by the Nazis. Located 3,000 feet above the sea level, the cemetery today is a protected site. The memorial to the murdered by the Nazi Jews has been put there quite recently. Why did the Nazis go on the so-called Zakopane Jewish Golden Hunt right after the town's occupation in 1939? Where was the Jewish ghetto in Zakopane? Finally, why did the staff of the Jewish orphanage opened in Zakopane in 1945 had to leave together with their children for France? Join our Jewish Zakopane tour to explore fascinating yet quite sobering history of the Zakopane Jews.